So this woman sent a message to my Bourbon Bougie inbox. And if you are on Reddit, you can go to Bourbon Bougie and follow me. We have a whole little community over there. You can post, you can make posts, you can send me messages, whatever. So if you're interested, go on over to Bourbon Bougie on Reddit. Okay, back to this story time. She says, I chose to become a stay-at-home mom after the age of 40. I wanted to be home for my child, but it turned into a minefield and pushed me to the brink of divorce. As I'm still married, personal details will be obfuscated. I had a high paying, demanding job that required a lot of travel. After my child was born, I felt bad that I was always leaving. I decided that the least I could do was commit to being a full time mom before they entered high school. I decided on the year, I'm sorry, I decided on the year I would quit working and vision boarded the whole process. My job allowed me to buy a house and car and amass savings and investments that would allow me to be out of the workforce for 7 years. My husband and I always had separate finances. He didn't contribute financially at all. The year the house was paid off, I quit my job. The whole process took 7 years. I was finally a stay at home mom. I did all the things, all the household chores, including lawn care, minor home maintenance, took care of everything a home needs. My husband literally only had to pay utilities, cook on Saturdays, and pay for his car maintenance. We should have been living the dream, but things started to go left after about 90 days. Everything became a problem. Nothing was done the right way. Laundry not done correctly. Dishes not on the dish rack properly. Food not cooked just so. Not the right ingredients stacking on his lunch sandwiches. He would make a complaint and I would make an adjustment. The goalpost always moved. It got to be infuriating. So we went to marriage counseling. I also went to individual counseling. I followed all the advice. Things would get better for a while, but start back up. I resolved the household chore complaints by saying if he didn't like how I did something, he should do it himself. He then switched to giving me the silent treatment, but never telling me what the problem was. If I bought him a gift, only something he talked about, he would complain about the cost, even though I paid for it with my money, not his. Then the grocery bill was too high. I started clipping coupons, shopped at the cheapest store in our area, cut out snacks, and stopped buying expensive cuts of meat. I reduced the bill, which caused a massive argument. He was furious and told me he wanted me to reduce the bill, but still buy the exact things. That showed me it was a no win situation. So I focused on my child and decided that once my child graduated high school, I was out. I was being annoyed and irritated to death. Every day was some stupid, asinine thing that made me want to punch him in the throat. This went on for a good 3 years. At one point, he didn't speak to me or look at me for a week. If I approached him, he would look away. I asked him what was wrong, and he would say nothing. That was it for me. I told him that was the last time he was giving me the silent treatment, that something was wrong with him and he needed to fix it or get out of my house. He found a therapist and went for months. Finally, the therapist asked me to attend the sessions. This is when I found out he resented the fact that I was living my dream of being a stay at home mom, resented that I had my own money, and resented that when I worked, I made more money than him. He resented our child because why did they get a stay at home mom when his mom had to work? He has so much resentment and anger towards me that came out in all of these passive aggressive ways. He ruined my stay at home mom experience out of jealousy. My child is off to college now and happy studying what they love. After my husband worked through his childhood issues in therapy, which were the source of all the resentments, we were able to stabilize our relationship. I planned for 12 years to be a stay at home mom, and it still went wrong. She says, I'll answer the primary question now. I didn't leave because my child loved their dad more than anything. He was there during their formative years when I was always away. He was a good dad to her, but a terrible husband to me. My advice to anyone, man or woman, staying home, have your own money in investments, a prenup, only have as many kids as you can support with the money that is all yours. She says, thanks for letting me share. I'm happy to answer any questions as long as the answer doesn't allow someone to identify me. I don't know, man. Women You can't win for losing. You see how she really, really did try to tiptoe around his feelings, and things still went left. I don't think that women can really, really win in these situations. There's no winning because there's always going to be a complaint. And yes, therapy, getting their mental well being and working through childhood issues needs to be at the forefront. Just like we go and get dental checkups and health checkups and blood pressure taken, mental checkups should be a thing as well. And it should be normalized because there's no way that he would have gotten through this, that they would have lasted this long without some mental intervention. All right. So you guys go ahead, jump in. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, share. If you have any questions for this stay-at-home mom, drop it in the comment section. I have an Am I the A-hole thread from a woman. And like I always say, many of these Am I the A-hole threads from women are simply women looking for validation for feeling normal human emotions. This title, Am I the a-hole if I am still bitter about my husband saying being a stay-at-home mom is not working? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He is the a-hole 100%. I haven't even read the story, but let's look at it. He says, I am a mom to a 3-month-old son and have been a stay-at-home mom ever since. I take care of our son. I do all the housework. I cook. I clean, cook, wash, grocery shop, do all the planning, etc., etc. In Germany, where we can live, in Germany where we live, I can take up to 3 years of maternity leave and get up to 67% of my income for 12 months of that. When I got the letter confirming the amount I get in these payments, I showed my husband, and his response was, all that money for doing nothing. When he saw my stunned look, he tacked on, for entertaining our child and not working. I was so shocked that I could not even really respond to that in any way. So I went back to finishing up dinner and we did not talk about it any further. He clearly noticed I was hurt though, and today he amended that this was only supposed to be a joke because he was happy that it was so much money and I was now getting and more than he expected, and he is very grateful for what I do, and of course it is work and I do it very well. I responded that his unfiltered reaction yesterday was clearly more honest than this practiced, more socially acceptable speech today, and that is exactly how I feel. It seems as if deep down, he clearly does not realize how much work I really do every day. If he immediately jumps to so much money for not working just because I get 67% of my salary, even though I stay home raising his child and washing his dirty socks while giving up 33% of my salary, my career, and pension to do so. Am I the a-hole for being mad at him, and am I too sensitive? Absolutely not. You're not the a-hole for being mad. This this job is unpaid labor. We're not, these women, the women that do this are underappreciated, undervalued. We do so much as stay-at-home moms, as moms in general, that it's just normal for them to, just wave it off like it's nothing, like it's nothing. So she's not being too sensitive. She's sleep deprived. She's still doing everything. And she was really trying to make it work. And she had some exciting news. And then he said that to her. Okay, so for some of the comments, Specialist Bit says, leave the house on his day off, where he'll be forced to cook, clean, and care for the child. Widget Mama says, when my twins were infants, I'd take a book with me for Saturday shopping and sit in the car and read for 20 to 30 minutes. Kept me sane. X never complained. The OP said, I honestly don't have the energy for that and just want to veg out on the couch in the hours that he spends with me and our child. So, of course, that is what he sees me doing. Because resting as her body is trying to recover from 9 months of building a child and then labor. The baby is literally 3 months old. She hasn't fully recovered. Hormones aren't balanced. She probably isn't sleeping. I cannot stand this type of thing where men simply don't appreciate what women go through, what our bodies go through, and then still to try to keep the household running. Beach in Life says, no, you need to make the effort. Even if you sit in the park in your car and take a nap, go get a mani pedi, take some you time, and leave him with the kid from morning till night. This person says, agreed. OP, do you have a good friend with a spare room who would be happy to host you for a nap? If any of my mates came to me in your situation, then I would be making mugs of tea and giving them blankets because that's what women do. Women know how to form community and can read the room and see what other women are going through. Women can read the room. Why can't these men, especially since we have been talking on social media about this, like consistently? Okay, this person says, visit your friend and just sit there. This person says, me too. I'd definitely let you stay with me for the day and let him know what it's like. This person says, and sure, he will not actually get around to doing any of the housework in that time. OP really needs a weekend away. He does not appreciate all the work she does. This person says nope, because he won't do a damn thing, and she'll have even more work to do once she gets back. My ex husband used to do the same thing when I was sick or traveling for work. He'd do the bare minimum to keep our kids alive, but I knew I had a mountain to tackle as soon as I was feeling better at all. This person says OP can just take care of This person says OP can take care of just her and the kids' needs. Don't wash his dirty socks or make him meals. He can do that himself. And then this person responds with, at one point, I got so sick of doing everything. I told my ex-husband that I wasn't going to make his doctor's appointments anymore. He then had to use his monthly contact lenses for something like 8 months because he never did it himself. And the dentist appointments never got made. And then this person says, why on earth would you procreate with something like that? Mind boggling. And then she simply responds with, he wasn't like that at first, Dick Nozzle. Why do people act like these people don't shift, that like they don't change? Why do people act like they don't change? Stop saying this kind of stuff. Of course they change. Of course they're not showing us their worst behavior before we get married and have kids with them. Okay, that's it for the comments for now. Jump in the comments. Obviously, not the a-hole. He is totally the a-hole, but you guys can drop your comments on that. Like, comment, share. My partner is upset because I don't want to change my name after marriage. She says, we've been together. We already have an update on my partner is upset because I don't want to change my name after marriage. She says, first of all, I want to thank everyone for the support and advice. It's all very appreciated. After posting the original post earlier today, I gathered the courage to talk to him about it again. It wasn't a long talk, but he acknowledged that he disrespected my boundaries. He agreed that he blatantly disrespected me, apologized, and is currently reconsidering his opinions on the matter. What really struck what really struck with me is that he admitted that he was viewing things from a very selfish perspective without considering my own feelings, but he realized that we don't need to have the same name in order to be a happy couple, and most importantly, that my own feelings are valid and I deserve to be respected. He took accountability, and I appreciate that. He also swallowed his pride and admitted he thought a happy family means a family where everyone shares the father's names because that's what he knows from his own family. Many of you told me your stories, and I told him about them too. Now it's up to me to decide. In the end, we might end up going double barrel. Seems like a good enough middle ground. Thanks for all the support. Now, this I don't know how y'all feel about this, but he acknowledged everything. He apologized. Cool. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like, of course, he wants to calm things over, but is he going to change up? And this is where people get upset for women not leaving at the first sign of a red flag because, okay, he apologized. He's saying the right things, but what's going to happen a little bit down the line when it's when it's time to sign the marriage certificate, or when she is having a baby, and now the baby, we have to decide on the baby's last name and all of this stuff. This is where it's like, I just really don't know, but y'all can go ahead and weigh in. I'm just bringing you the update. I don't know how I feel about the update. Y'all tell me, but here are some of the comments. Okay, this person says, changing your name is an absolute pain, and it's wild to me that men expect women to do it and act like it's no big deal. It is far more than one form. Have a degree? You need to contact your school and get a new one. Have a passport? Gotta update that. Insurance? Update your name on that. Own any large property, car, house, etc.? Update your name on that. And on and on and on. But if he's willing to do it, then that seems fair. This person just kind of responded to all that saying, single women can't have any of those things, obviously being sarcastic. This person says, thank you for reminding me to look into contacting my alma mater for an updated degree. I changed my first and middle name 2 years ago, and I'm still untangling all the places I need to change it. The state ID was the worst part. They acted like they'd never heard of someone changing anything but their last name, and they didn't want to accept the court order and the updated social security card for proof. This person says, went through this too. It was such a pain. And of all the freaking places, Coles, they refused to change my name. Coles. This person says, sounds like a nightmare. The other thing that's weird to me as a dude is like, I know my partner by her full name. It's how I fell in love with her. I call her her last name in a nicknamey way sometimes. I do not see one way in which my life is affected either way if she keeps or doesn't keep her name when we get married. There's actual things to care about, and this is like zero. This person says, as a Spanish woman, if someone asked me to change my surname, I would probably laugh in their face. This person says, it's an extra box on literally any application, usually something like previously known aliases. It is a lot of work. Paperwork sucks. Paperwork sucks. And doing all the paperwork is just extra work, it's extra money, and nothing about your life really changes. You can still introduce yourself as his last name if that makes you happy, but it's literally all of the paperwork is just a hassle. And who likes extra hassle when you have kids and marriage and you got to figure out what's for dinner and all that stuff? This person says, told my husband about me keeping my name years before marriage. He was upset for maybe a day, then worked through it himself and apologized. Sometimes a person just needs a little extra time to examine their knee jerk reaction. This person says, especially when that knee jerk reaction is indoctrinated in us from a young age. This person says, effing societal norms, man. And then the last one I'm doing, it's ridiculous that it has persisted this long. My parents are rapidly approaching their 45th anniversary, and mom didn't take dad's last name. I'm always vaguely baffled when when friends my age change their name on marriage. So there we go. You guys go ahead and weigh in. Let me know what you think about this. And yes, this is totally indoctrinated in us. All of these social norms and traditions are indoctrinated in us. And what does it actually prove? We're no longer property. At least in the United States, we're no longer property. You don't have to act like you're property anymore. You can say, no, I'm keeping my name. Y'all weigh in, like, comment, share. I love that the women in the Bourbon Bougie community knows what to repost so that I can see it. It makes my life so much easier. Okay, so this is a repost. It says, I told my doctor I would sue him if he touched me and delivered our son on all fours and embarrassed my husband. She says, my husband frequents Reddit, just not this subreddit, I don't think, hence the throwaway. 2 weeks ago, I had my son. My labor was 24 hours long. My son was not moving. I could tell the doctor was getting impatient before he left. I asked for an epidural, but it just didn't seem to be working. I could still feel everything. I have broken both my legs. I have been stabbed. It was an accident, but it went in one side of my thigh and out the other. However, I have never been in the pain that I was in that room. When the doctor finally said I was crowning, my son still didn't come. There was a barrage of things. They needed to get him out. He said he was going to give me a little cut. I told him at the moment the anesthesia wasn't working, so not to. He grabbed something from the table. My husband was all, everything is going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. I sat up as the doctor got closer and told him I would effing sue him for his lifeblood if he touched me with those scissors. A little aside, an episiotomy is when yeah, this trigger warning. trigger one. An episiotomy is when a doctor cuts you in that area down there to allow for the head to come out. And a lot of the times it's because they are impatient because nature isn't naturing as quickly as they would like. And I have seen pictures of a cut from an episiotomy, and the tear is horrific, and the way women have to heal is terrible. So I'm glad that she said this and stood her ground. Okay, back to she says, I do remember shoving my husband when he reached for my arm, like he was holding me back from attacking the doctor, which I was not going to do. It is blurry from there, but apparently I got on my hands and knees. I remember squatting, but whatever, and I pushed my son out. I did not tear badly, thankfully, for the record, and I was still half delirious. I said that I wanted all the men out. This included my husband, and screamed for them to get out until they did. Then apparently proceeded to lay calmly while the nurses tended to everything, and I believe a female doctor came in and asked me some questions, some pertaining to a lawsuit. But I was still delirious holding my son. Another interjection. If women were allowed to give birth naturally, it would probably be the way that she did while she was delirious. The way the Western world has women putting our feet up in stirrups and pushing, like while we're laying on our back, is to help the doctors. It's not because that's the most natural way to push out a baby. Just another aside. Okay, back to the story. One of the nurses said that was one of the nurses that was with me made me feel better and said, sometimes mothers just know best, and called me a champ. If you are the nurse who said that, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was an hour and a half before I was feeling myself again and said my husband can come back in. I still feel shaky and horrible whenever I think of it. The idea of even going back to the doctor's office for checkups makes me vomit. I don't think I'll ever trust a doctor again, and I certainly will never be having any more children. I need y'all to understand that many of these doctors have a God complex and they're doing things for the ease of them. They feel like they need to intervene and they're not listening to patients, usually, especially men doctors when it comes to things dealing with the woman body. They feel like they have to intervene and they know best. She says, my husband hasn't left me alone about kicking him out of the delivery room. And he keeps saying how embarrassing it was for him and the doctor. Even after I explained that the doctor was going to give me an episiotomy without my permission, he keeps saying the doctor knew best, even though he saw me push my son out. Every time he says it, I feel like I've been resenting him more and more. On top of that, I have been having some really crappy nightmares about my husband grabbing me and restraining me in that moment. So I am not sure if I am just being, I'm sorry. So I'm not sure if I'm just not being understanding enough because I'm sure he was embarrassed, but I am just finding it hard to be empathetic, which is not remotely the norm for me. I just like some outside opinions. And again, yes, I am speaking to my therapist, but I just like some impartial views. Please forgive any mistakes. I'm trying to write this while breastfeeding. How do I gain more empathy, or is this just as offensive and insensitive as it feels? It is not your job to feel empathetic. He needs to work through that himself. You just pushed out a whole baby. Your hormones are off the chain, and you advocated for yourself. Your husband was just going to go along just to get along because some of these men believe that these doctors are a god and believe the whole God complex thing. You knew best. Nature took over and you had that baby without tearing. Good for you. This person says, this sounds traumatic AF. I don't blame her for not wanting more children. Absolutely, I agree. It's wild to think that maybe 60 years ago, they would have restrained her and cut her up to make life easier for the doctor. I'm glad in the end she won, but imagine what could have happened to her if she didn't have the energy or confidence to fight. This person says 60 years ago, they still knocked women out completely. My grandmother was out for 7 out of 8 births. For the last kid, she was like, okay, put me out. And they were like, no, we don't do that anymore. But it's not all roses for women who were asleep either. Look up twilight birth if you haven't heard of it. A side effect of the lack of communication. unquestionable doctors, no respect for women, surprise, and over under medicating birthing women at the time. And the lady at the bottom says, bet that same doctor would have sewn her up tight to make things better for her husband during sex. That whole husband stitch without consent to the woman. I'm sorry, from the woman. So this woman says, thank you was very painful. It being the husband stitch. This person says, I'm sorry. I hope you have healed well and had help if needed. This person says, my mom always talks about a doctor she had who she said was going to give her a courtesy stitch so things could be nice and new down there. My mom was like, I don't effing care if it's like new. I don't want it to be. LOL. This person says, my husband found out about the concept of a husband stitch on Reddit maybe months after I gave birth and came to me horrified that it was a thing. He told me he now understands why I was so adamant about having a specific OB. She stitched me up perfectly, only needed a couple, and I couldn't even tell you where I had my episiotomy. This person says, good for you. I've heard of those courtesy stitches, makes things even worse. This person says, I don't know if they gave me that extra stitch after my episiotomy, but I was crying for the entire day after I gave birth. My midwife rushed over the next day, took one look and said, they stitched you up too tightly. She had to cut some of the stitches off. Cutting them hurt like hell, and I was screaming through it all, but afterwards I was finally able to sit and even lie down without feeling like I was dying. I can't believe that happened. It happened because they don't listen to women. They don't care about women. They don't care about getting consent. Women have got to be really strong in advocating for ourselves, saying no, holding boundaries, and hollering like this woman. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Okay, so a Burby sent me this Reddit post that was reposted to the Twitter. I took it upon myself. I just went and found it over on Reddit so that I could see some of the comments. And man, this is a good one. She says in the True Off My Chest subreddit, now I have won my husband back. I am leaving him. Okay. This is juicy, y'all. She says, I have secured an apartment for my baby and me, and I have put everything in order and prepared for custody, shared or otherwise. I have divided the money and transferred my share to a third account, and it will stay there until the divorce proceedings and the dividing of the assets. I found out that my husband was having an affair while I was postpartum. I thought I would die because I love him, and it felt like my heart was broken into a million pieces. I knew that it was over, but my curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to know why. What was it that she had that I didn't? Did he love her? I started reading his text, and everything was there. He felt like he was alive again. He was excited. She was single and childless, so she had all the time in the world to make him her priority. He felt seen and desired by her. I was confused because even with life coming between us, he was always my love, and I made sure he knew that every day. Still, it wasn't enough. I read thousands upon thousands of messages between them, and I started being everything he fantasized about. In the beginning, it felt weird, and he was confused, but I just went on. Every time he made plans with her, I found a way to make him stay, or I made sure I sent him exhausted to her. The messages became less and less frequent, and the passion and excitement subsided. Soon, answering her became more of a chore. The complaining started and him pulling away. He was happier at home and he couldn't wait to come home. He started texting me again during the day. The sweetest text of how he missed me. He was his old self back. One day, what I hoped and waited patiently for happened. He ended things with her. He told her that he loved me and that now everything was great again. Her services weren't needed, in other words. I felt relief, and finally I could move on. Now I am preparing for my divorce. He will get the papers the day I leave for my new life and my new apartment. I know I will get a lot of hate for this because I have neglected my husband and pushed him to seek solace in another woman's arms when I apparently could have given him what he sought all along. And believe me, I will bear the guilt for the rest of my life. I don't believe that she should feel guilty. They had a new kid. She was recovering and he wasn't being patient. And she said she still loved him. He just wasn't patient. I am not giving her any kind of issues or any kind of hate. I believe she was being a human. She says, in my defense, I didn't do it intentionally. Our lives have been altered drastically, and I was trying to navigate this new and exciting existence. I was immersed in this new kind of happiness that I thought I was sharing with him. Absolutely. There's no need for her to even apologize. And I was trying to get to know my new body that I couldn't recognize anymore. A real scary feeling, but he could have come to me with his hurt. He could have talked to me about his suffering. He could have tried to make me understand, but he chose not to. He decided to deceive me, deceive us. He ruined our love and our future and even our history. Nothing was, is, or will be the same again. This level of planning, OMG, she he will definitely be blindsided, and she planned it as such. Man. Okay. So someone's like, how are you going to tell him you are leaving? Can you update us? She says, I will probably just tell him that I want a divorce, that I have found a place to live, that I'm taking my son with me until we arrange custody, and that this is final. The person responds with, I think you should include the collage of their text that you found in the breakup to make it spicy. She responds with, I thought about that, and I thought about leaving him wondering without explanation, never tell him what I know and let him wonder if I knew, not sure what path I want to go. This person says, personally, I wouldn't give him an explanation. He knows what he did, but he will torment himself trying to figure out if you know too, or if you had a million and one alternative reasons. He doesn't deserve the closure. He deserves to feel heartbroken. I feel as heartbroken as you did. And she just says, that's the plan. This person says, in my opinion, you have to tell him so he knows why. Otherwise, he's going to put the fault on you and make co parenting a nightmare. When he knows why you left, he will eventually accept things better. This person says, for F's sake, keep in mind this is the guy you are going to co-parent a child with for the rest of your lives if you are both lucky. Sure, right now he is your enemy and he did betray you, but you both will start setting the tone for what your relationship will look like. Lies only beget more lies. Speaking as someone whose partner cheated. I think she should tell him. What do y'all think? You guys weigh in. I'm not going to do any more of these comments. I've done a lot of Reddit today. I'm done. Like, comment, share.